name is Adam Novak, and now we'll be talking about debugging in Python. Now, a good program should never do anything unexpected by the programmer. A good thing to remember is that computers do not make mistakes. By remembering this, if anything unexpected occurs, we can remember that we wrote it in. We can go back to our code and find out where it occurred. Python also has its own inbuilt debugger. This is useful to keep track of variables and find out where errors do occur. Good practice avoids bugs in the first place. So naming everything appropriately is very important, and using clear and readable layout. If you do implement comments regularly and often, you will be able to go back to your code, find your variables, and find out what's happening to them more easily. Also, test often and when possible localized. If you can test sections of your code, you can find out what's happening to the variables inside of it, or find out if you have even made it to that section of the code. Typical mistakes are bad indentation, using a tab, or not being inside of the right loop. Incorrect brackets also often causes problems. Also, commonly, is incorrect use of looping updates. Using Ctrl-C in this circumstance will exit an infinite loop. Wrong Boolean evaluation often occurs, having the true when you want false or false when you want true. Also evaluating to wrong type. Let's say you got an integer and you want a string, or you want a string and you got an integer. The print statement is often called the ultimate debugger. Using it often and appropriately will keep track of your variables and values. This is a great way to check where your program is at a given time. By putting it inside of a loop, you can check whether you have made it to that loop and whether you've made it inside of it. So you can check whether the Boolean evaluation is correct. Using the Python debugger, you can increment your code step by step or at a speed. By doing this, you can keep track of your variables and watch them as they change, so you can see if you're in the right section of your code. Common error statements are the syntax, name error, and type error. There are many more, though I'm just using these for example. The type error will look like this, giving you a traceback most recent core, then in the Python shell number 4, because I've opened 4 Python shells. It will give you back the line in which the error occurred. Since I've written this in line 1 in the module, it says line 1 in module. And the error occurred to a plus 5. This is because we cannot convert a string and an int, such as I tried to add a string and an integer together. We can see this saying that there's an int object to string being the error type. So we looked at this simple while statement and we expected it to run 5 times. We pushed F5, we can see it goes for an infinite loop. Pushing Ctrl and C will exit the infinite loop. If we wanted to use the Python debugger in the console, go to Debug and go to Debugger. Over here, when we run our code now by pushing F5, the debugger will come up. We can step over it step by step, keeping track of our variable down the bottom as X changes its variable value. By incrementing it, we can see that X is actually increasing in value, not decreasing as we expected it to. So to quit the Python debugger, click Quit, then close it. Now we can alter our code such that it runs appropriately, making a minus to the value. Now we get 5 alterations. Though, it is unnecessary to use debugger often because we can simply use X equals 2 and use the print statement. So we can keep track of our variable, so we can see it's decreasing. If it was increasing, we can use a plus, pushing F5 to run, and seeing why we got the infinite loop, because it's increasing in value.